are your 12 exercises for mastering the ADLs, or the activities of daily living. So as we go through these, I want you to think about how the exercises would translate to things that you need to do in the normal course of your day. And I'll talk you through that as we get started. So our first exercise is standing gluteal contractions. We start by placing the feet about hip distance apart and pointed straight ahead. And remember that hip distance means directly under hip sockets. And remember that feet straight ahead means fourth toe or ring toe is pointed straight ahead. And that does nice things for the position of the hip in our pelvic sockets. So once your feet are set, we're going to start by just squeezing those butt muscles, about 20 reps. So we'll do those here, just standing and finding vertical. Make sure your ears and shoulders and hips and heels are all in a straight line. And I'm just simply contracting and releasing my butt muscles good and hard at a pretty brisk pace, trying to activate and stimulate those muscles that we normally are just sitting on all day. These are so important to activate and stimulate and strengthen, so that when we walk and climb stairs or even just stand in line, we have some support, we have some strength, so that our low back and our hips and knees can take a little break, and those strong muscular glutes do the job that they were designed for. So 20 isometric standing gluteal contractions. We're going to actually do 2 more sets there, because I find it takes me 2 or 3 sets to get those woken up. So I'm going to just turn the other way. Make sure your ears, shoulders, hips, and heels are all in a straight line. And then we'll start again. Remember to just try to relax your face, relax your shoulders. Start thinking about pulling those shoulders back just a little, and see what that does for your balance, and see what that does for your ability to fire those glutes. Remember, we talked about maybe having to tap them a little bit to wake them up. And here's the pace. We're squeezing and releasing, about 20 reps. This is such a great way to start your day. It's a great way to start your workout. We'll take a little break there and then do a 3rd set. It's a great way to warm up your glutes before you go for a walk or a run. So we're going to start our 3rd set with feet hip distance apart, pointed straight ahead, nice tall posture, relax, give me a nice pleasant smiley face, and we'll do 20 more. When those glutes are activated, they are going to make everything a little bit easier. They're going to make you a better stander, a better sitter, a better walker, a better runner, a better weightlifter. Your physical therapy is going to work better. Your yoga is going to work better. Your gardening is going to feel better. It's also a great little exercise to do throughout the day if you are sitting a lot, or if you're on a road trip, or if you have a sedentary job. This is just a quick, easy way to get a little life back in those glutes. And remember that half of your body is back here behind you, so don't just sit on it like a seat cushion. Actually activate it and use it for your ADLs. So that was our 3 sets of 20 gluteal contractions. Let's move on to scapular contractions. So now we're moving up the back. We're going to keep those feet about hip distance apart. We're going to keep the toes pointed straight ahead. Drop the shoulders down. We don't want any tension up there in the neck. And now we're just going to pinch the shoulder blades together. Maybe you want to imagine that there's a juicy lemon right there, and each time you squeeze the shoulder blades, you'll get a little juice out of it. And as you do this, we want to keep the rest of the body still. So don't alter the position of your rib cage or your pelvis. Sometimes we want to start giving our shoulders a little help, and we throw everything to it, and that's wrong. So I want you to just keep your body still and find that squeeze between the shoulder blades. We're going to do 10 reps. And then we'll take a break, because what I find is after I do more than 10 reps, I get a little tired, I get a little lazy, and I start pulling those shoulders up again. So let's start our 2nd set. Drop the shoulders down and find that little squeeze. Use the shoulder blades east and west here. So we want to pull them towards each other and then let them release. And I'm not adding a big arm flare, I'm not adding a rib flare, I'm just simply squeezing those shoulder blades together about 10 times. The nice thing about these exercises is that they're pretty low demand muscularly. You're probably not going to get real tired and sweaty, and you're not going to get real sore. So you can do them often throughout the day. You can do them every day. Let's do a third set of 10 here. And the more often you do these, the more quickly you'll start to establish that muscle memory. So pretty soon, this will be your normal position. You'll always have that 25% activation up at the shoulder blades instead of letting gravity and time pull you here. A lot of people think that falling forward and slumping posture is a normal part of aging, and it's not. Your muscles are in charge of your skeleton, not Father Time. So there's really no excuse for slumping posture or curved upper backs. It does take some practice and it does take some diligence. Our third exercise is that 1 minute standing forward bend. So let me get my watch ready here. And this exercise kind of brings the shoulder blades and the pelvis into a really important relationship for our activities of daily living. So to set up, I want you to put the heels of your hand right there on the bony part of your pelvis ridge, and then your fingers are just going to kind of point downward on your butt, okay? Then we're going to put those feet right under hips. We're going to pull the elbows towards each other, really squeezing the heck out of that lemon. Keep those elbows pinned towards each other, really activating the shoulders and the middle back. And now we're going to hinge at those hips, tilting the tail backwards, backwards, backwards. And then I want you to put all of your body weight right on the balls of your feet. And we're going to hold here for 1 minute, okay? So all my body weight is on the balls of my feet. I'm not lifting my heels off the floor. I'm just taking any pressure off my heels. And so what this does is it challenges us to lean forward and catch ourselves with the strength of that upper back and that tilt of the pelvis. And as we talked about, this is a very, very functional position for your activities of reaching or gardening or working around the house or a lot of sports. We lose the ability to tilt our tail this way, or when we do, sometimes we also round at the back. So this is encouraging a really strong and fundamental relationship between the shoulder blades and the pelvis. Now, as you notice, I always have my knees a little bent here. I really want you to try to keep those knees pretty straight and continue kind of leaning forward onto the balls of the feet. That was 1 minute. Good job. That might be one that you need to go back to several times a day and really practice that tail tilt especially. Okay, so from there, we're going to go to our 3-position toe raises. And I want you to stand really close to something like the wall or the back of the chair. And we're going to imagine ourselves in a vertical cylinder as I come up onto all 10 toes and then lower myself slowly. This is much different than just a calf raise, where our goal is to put a lot of muscle into it and really get a lot of work out of those calves. This is certainly strengthening the calves, but it becomes a posture exercise when we pinch the shoulder blades together a little bit, squeeze the glutes a little bit, and try to stay vertical as we come up and down into those strong feet. Remember that there are 100 muscles in your feet and lower legs, and when they are strong, you're gonna be a better walker, a better runner, a better stander, a better athlete. You're going to have less knee pain, less bunions, less plantar fasciitis. When the feet are strong, we have a strong support for the rest of the body. Our next set, we're gonna turn those feet out like a duck, okay? So heels are together, toes are slightly turned out at about 45 degrees, and we're gonna do 10 more. And not only does this foot position now change the emphasis in my foot muscles, it also changes the emphasis in my hip muscles, because when my feet turn out, my hips turn out. And that's a good thing. We want the entire hip girdle to be real strong and have access to all these different positions as we move through our day. So we'll do about 10 reps there, and then on that third set, we're gonna bring the toes together, pigeon-toed, and the heels apart, again creating about a 45-degree angle at the feet. Now, if you know that 10 reps is too many for you because you're getting cramps or you're real sore the next day, just do a few reps and work your way back up to 10. What I don't ever want you to do is do more than 10. When 10 reps gets easy, I want you to just challenge yourself to go slower. Slow on the way up and real slow on the way down. Remembering those 100 muscles of the foot and lower leg need the eccentric strength as well, or the negative or the lowering phase. Again, when those muscles are strong and supple, you're going to be a much better walker. And when you're a good walker or a good stair climber or a good hiker or runner, you're going to have a lot less hip, knee, and back pain when you do those things. Okay, so speaking of the foot muscles, now we're going to move on to that short foot exercise. Notice that I'm standing, once again, with my feet right under my hips and my toes pointed straight ahead. I have a little bit of a gentle squeeze between the shoulder blades and just a little activity in those glutes. Not really going for it, but just kind of a active 10% maybe. Okay, then to set up for this exercise, we're going to place the right foot, the right heel, I should say, right on an imaginary line with those left toes. My feet are still hip distance apart. I have not come onto a tightrope. I'm still out here on those narrow train tracks, okay? I have a chair here if I need it, but I'd really rather you not use one. I'm gonna back up here a little bit so you can see my right toes. So my ear, shoulder, hip, and left heel are all in a straight line from the side while I've put my right foot out in front of me. Now my right toes are gonna lift off the floor, and then those right toes are gonna smack the floor, keeping the ball of my foot down and only raising the toes, all 5 toes up, and then keeping them spread and straight, I'm gonna smack the floor. 20 reps, and this is so boring and so ridiculously important to do, so do not skip this one. The more we can control our toes, the better our balance. And so many people I know are saying, oh, but I need exercises for balance. This is it. Don't stand on one leg while you brush your teeth, please. That is not really doing anything for your foot dexterity or your foot strength. And while I'm working those right toes, smacking, never curling or crunching, I'm also sneaking in a little bit of balance work on this left side. So in my brain, my left ear, shoulder, hip, and heel are working really hard in that cylinder to memorize where vertical is. And my right foot is creating a little distraction, but that left side, whoo, I'm actually getting a little tired over on this side from having to do all that work of balancing me. So if you are starting to notice that your balance is bad, this is such a good one to do. So now let's switch sides. I'm going to put that left heel forward in the same line on an imaginary line created by my right toe. I'm going to drop my shoulders, pleasant face, little squeeze between the shoulder blades, little activity in those glutes just to keep me, paying attention back there on my backside. And then I'll start the lift and smack of the left toes, raising all 5 toes up and spreading them apart and then smacking them down. We'll do about 20 reps here. And take your time. If you need to hold the chair to maintain good balance, you can, but after a while, try to do it without that. Good balance means good strength, okay? So the stronger you are, the more you give me those shoulder blades, and the more you give me those glutes, and the more you give me those strong toes, the better your balance is going to be, I promise. And when you have good balance, you're going to stand in line without aches and pains, you're going to walk without aches and pains, and you're even going to sit and do your activities of daily living without aches and pains. All right, I talked a little less on that one, so I'm already done with my 20. Let's go back and do each foot one more time. Obviously, do these exercises barefoot, because when you're in a shoe, you're limited. Your toe mobility is limited. Your foot strength is limited, right? Because essentially your shoe is creating a brace for your foot musculature. And when you're wearing a brace, your muscles turn off completely. And so now we've lost the opportunity to strengthen all 100 of those lower leg and foot muscles. I definitely need to do this one more because I have noticed that my toes are starting to get a little oddly shaped as I age, partly because I've stubbed them or because my nephew ran over that one with his bike one time and broke it. And when our toes start to get oddly shaped, it does start to bother our gait a little bit, and we start to adapt some compensation patterns, and then all of a sudden our knees or our hips hurt. And it's not your knees or your hips' fault always. Let's switch sides. Sometimes your knees and your hips hurt because your toes have gotten a little misshapen or weak or dysfunctional. So let's bring back that great foot function. I swear, you guys are gonna have the strongest feet in the land, and that makes me super happy because I really think that strong feet mean a strong body. So we'll finish up our last set here. Always, always remembering that the shoulder blades need to be pinched at about 25% effort, and maybe those glutes are contracted at about 10 to 25% effort too. Don't forget about what goes on the back side. That's half of your body back there, so keep it active and stimulated. So each of these exercises that we're doing is going to restore the activity between our shoulder blades and our pelvis and our feet. So with that said, let's go to a sitting exercise and twist the relationship between the shoulder blades and the pelvis and the feet. So I'm going to start by sitting on the bony part of my pelvis, not the cushiony part of my pelvis. I want to roll forward right onto that bony part, and now I'm going to sit up nice and tall. Ears, shoulders, and hips all in a straight line. Feet about hip distance apart and pointed straight ahead. All I'm going to do here is set my timer here for a minute, and we're going to twist and hold. So I'm still in that vertical cylinder, but now I've kind of turned my shoulders all the way around. I'm going to give pleasant face, and now I'm going to work that diaphragm. Remember that muscular diaphragm sits right here, and as I breathe in, I want to expand the diaphragm down, make my belly really big, and as I breathe out, I'm going to compress my belly and let the diaphragm come up. So inhale and exhale, and I'll just let you place your hands here, and don't use your hands to pull you into a deeper twist. We want to use your core muscles, those gorgeous strong oblique muscles, to pull you into a twist. The legs shall not twist, okay? The legs should be totally right where we left them. Knees and toes pointed straight ahead. I forgot to set my timer. We'll imagine that we have about 10 more seconds to go here. Check yourself on these last 10 seconds. Make sure your shoulders have dropped down. And good. So now we'll just switch sides. Readjust if you need to. And remember that if you find yourself twisting at the hips, it's okay to place a yoga block here between the knees to keep you honest. All right, let's turn and do another minute this way. So now you can kind of see how the position of my upper back really turns into a nice yin-yang between those shoulder blades. So as I look to my right shoulder blade is pulling way back, but my left shoulder blade is just kind of being there, and that's totally okay. So just kind of feel that tug of war that we've created in the shoulders. Only turn as far as you feel safe, and if you know 1 minute is a little too long for you, then it's okay to stop short. Check your knees, make sure they haven't twisted. We're gonna sit up tall, and now we'll find those deep breaths. We have about 15 more seconds here for some nice big diaphragmatic breathing. Oh, this one feels so good. This one might also be one that you do during your work day. Don't practice it while you're driving, but if you're sitting in a chair all day, this might be a nice little break. Good, stop there. If you're sitting on an airplane or at the airport or you're traveling that way, it's a great one to just kind of untwist some of the aches and pains that we get from slumping. Okay, so then we're gonna go to sitting heel raises. And so here, I'm gonna sit, same thing, right on the bony part of my butt. Don't use the back of your chair. Scoot forward and come up onto the balls of your feet, and then drop those heels back to the floor. Let me scoot back a little bit so you can see me better. Okay, so come right up onto the balls of your feet and then drop the heels to the floor. And I want you to do that with very little pressure on the toes. Don't press your toes into the floor. Try to raise the heels by being aware of these hip flexors right there in the front of the hip sockets. When your hip flexors are strong, you're going to use proper walking mechanics. You're going to get rid of that rotational walk, that kind of cowboy, that kind of a cowboy swagger that causes so many unnecessary aches and pains. Again, this one is so stupid and simple and important, so do not skip it. Here, we're not necessarily strengthening the feet as much as we're strengthening that relationship between the feet and the hips and the shoulder blades, because notice that I still have about a 20%, 25 maybe percent squeeze in those shoulder blades. So I did a set of 20 there. Let's take a quick break and do another set of 20 on these sitting heel raises. Readjust your butt, get right on the bony part, sit up nice and tall, ears, shoulders, and hips all in a straight line. A yoga block would be fine here again if you find that your knees are falling apart. That is not, let me show you this way. This is not right, okay? Because when we do that, we're strengthening the wrong socket, the wrong part of the socket. We want those knees facing straight ahead. So actually, I'll do this set that way. All right, so sit up tall, and we'll do 20 more. So you can't see my feet, but that's okay because I really want you to zoom in and look right there in those hip creases. This is so important, you guys. It's going to help you walk upstairs, but as we talked about, it's also going to help you walk down the stairs without pain. It's going to help you sit and stand from a chair. It's going to help you with every sport imaginable. When your hip flexors are strong and you can do this motion, doesn't seem like a big deal, but once we lose it and we start doing all those activities out here, we've lost that important relationship between the feet and the pelvis. So we'll do one or two more there. All right, so then we're gonna go to our sitting cats and dogs, and this one moves up the body and restores the relationship between the pelvis and the shoulder blades. It's a little bit tricky, but I want you to keep working at it because it feels so good. We're gonna just kind of dump the pelvis onto that cushiony part and slump all the way down like this, spreading the shoulder blades apart and just letting the head drop. So that is our cat. And then as we pull up into dog, notice that I started that motion from down here. I just kind of rolled my hips into that other position where I'm on the bony part of my butt. And now my shoulder blades are squeezing together and I'm looking up as comfortably as I can, okay? No stress in the neck. For some people, you won't be able to get up that high and that's okay. Just raise your chin as high as you feel safe. And then we'll come back to a cat. And we're gonna do about 10 of these. So slump those buns under, spread the shoulder blades and drop your head. And then let's breathe in and come up to a dog. And if you're like me, you'll probably get a couple creaks and cracks out of that spine. So remember that 25 vertebrae spine is 25 separate pieces. And those 25 separate pieces of your spine are stacked on top of each other like a chain link fence, and it's supported and anchored at the top by the shoulder blades. So when my shoulder blades are pinched, it beautifully changes the position of the vertebrae. And when my pelvis is back here, it changes the position of my vertebrae. Now when I spread the shoulder blades apart, it allows me to really move all 25 of those vertebrae in a way that releases a lot of tension on the discs and restores the mobility of your spine. When your spine starts to get immobile, it's not because of aging, it's because of posture. It's because you kind of get stuck here. So those cats and dogs are going to be a really good one to restore the mobility at your vertebrae and reduce the risk of injury when you do twisting or stooping exercises. Okay, so we have 3 more exercises. We're going to do that function run next, and this is the one where we're going to get your heart rate up a little bit. If you have a nice solid wood desk like I do, or a countertop, I'm going to have you sit on it. And we want to sit right on the edge, and we want to flex those ankles. In other words, pull the toes up to your nose. And so those feet are going to stay active. My hip flexors are about to get the workout of their lifetime, and my shoulder blades are going to stay pulled slightly back. And then for 2 minutes, here we go, we're going to imagine that we're running in place. And I want you to try, let me scoot back a little bit, I want you to try to stay vertical. So ears, shoulders, and hips right in a nice straight line. Make those knees come up as high as you can. Remember, this is running, we're not bicycling, so I want those knees to come straight up and straight down. And notice that I'm not rocking. I hope you can't see that my pelvis is not rocking, okay? I have an imaginary pitcher of beer on my head, and I don't want to let it spill, because if I start doing this, that's not really good running or walking or stair climbing mechanics. Whew. Yeah, my hip flexors are definitely feeling it, guys. We have a whole minute to go. Big exhale. Let your heart rate climb a little bit. Let's sneak in a little bit of endurance exercise here. Let's sneak in a little cardio and train those hip flexors to do their job. When your hip flexors are strong, not only are you going to be a better walker and a stair climber and a hiker and an athlete, you're going to be a much better sitter. You're going to be so much better at stooping and getting in and out of a car. I can tell you for sure that a lot of my clients with lower extremity pain have one of 2 things going wrong. Either their feet are wrong, I better pick up the pace here. Their feet are wrong, meaning that their feet are weak and dysfunctional, or their hip flexors are wrong, meaning that they are weak and dysfunctional. So much of aches and pains, so much of good posture, so much of good activities of daily living go back to that relationship between the feet and the pelvis and the shoulder blades. Oh my Lord, 10 more seconds. Let's go, go for it. I might have broken my form and let a little bit of that beer spill. Sorry about that. 3, 2, 1, and relax. So if you know that 2 minutes is too long for you on that one, totally okay to back it down. By the end of the day though, try to get all 2 minutes in. Maybe you'll have to split it up into shorter intervals, but work at getting up to 2 minutes there. I really like that one. So next we're gonna do the Stork Walks. And now that your hip flexors are good and warm, this one should be easy. So let's extend your arms out in front of you and then pull the shoulder blades back just a smidge. Then we're gonna hike up the knees and the toes and march like a stork, remembering that part of the exercise is on that knee lift. I'm gonna try a couple backwards now. You can turn around and go forward if you want to. Part of the exercise is on the knee and toe lift, but part of the exercise is what that standing leg is doing. So as I place my right foot on the floor, I have to think about that cylinder again, from heel to hip to shoulder to ear. Don't be in a hurry here. Take your time and really get something out of this. I shared with you a quote from my cousin Trent who's also a trainer, he always says, execute the exercise. In other words, don't just do it, really try to get something out of it. Feel those feet, flexing the foot up and then placing it on the floor and almost grabbing it like a short foot. Flex the foot up and then grab the floor. Flex the foot up and grab the floor. We're going to do about 20 of these stork walks. Again, you decide in what direction you want to go. You might find, let me show you this way, you might find that going sideways is actually easier for you. And that's common for a lot of folks because we haven't yet adapted bad habits walking sideways. So you might find that your balance is better when you go sideways. Your choice there, forward, backwards, or side to side. And then our last exercise was sit to stand. And this seems an awful lot like a squat, but I want you to think about this as a total body strengthener. It's the last exercise for a reason. It's kind of my grand finale. I do want you to try to do these with your hands on your head. That's going to be a nice way to start off on a good note with beautiful posture. It automatically brings our ears and our shoulders and our hips into that nice straight line, and I have that 25% squeeze on my shoulder blades. Now, your feet should be pointed straight ahead and about hip distance apart, and all we're going to do is look straight ahead with a very pleasant face and stand straight up, and then sit way back, tilting those hips way back, and then do it again. And remember the little trick I taught you. If that is hard, we can add a little spring load, spring load, and then pop right up. Have a seat, spring load, and pop right up. And that is a totally okay way to train yourself to do a sit to stand with really safe form. Now I'm going to do 10 reps. If you know that you have to stop because you're not ready for 10, that's totally okay. But know that this is a functional exercise. You are going to have to get up and down out of a chair several times a day for the rest of your life. You're going to have to walk every day for the rest of your life. You're going to have strong feet and good mechanics every day for the rest of your life. So practicing it and really taking time to execute these exercises is going to go a long way for your activities of daily living. I hope that helped. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to give me a holler. Thanks, I'll see you soon.